Assalamu alaikum. My name is Imrana Mahmood, and this is the Creative Roots podcast. This is a production commissioned and presented by Revolution Arts, supported by Inspire FM and Arts Council England. And on today's podcast, we are talking to Anisa, who is a student at UCL. And we're going to talk a little bit about creativity, identity, reflections on some recent workshops. So inshallah, I'm sure there'll be lots to talk about today. So assalamu alaikum, Anisa.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Thank you so much for taking your time out to speak to me today. I'm going to start off what I hope is kind of a basic question, is what does creativity mean to you?
Well, firstly, I'm more than happy to be here. And in terms of the question, creativity is so broad. To each person, it means different things. But for me, it means something that really stimulates your mind and brings out skills and technique. In everyday life, I think you are actually being creative, but people just don't know in terms of their thinking skills, critical thinking skills, just everyday activities. There's certain ways you think how to do things, and that itself is being creative. But then there's the art aspect of it that I like to see. And I myself really enjoy art. And everyone says that I have very creative skills, in terms of like painting, calligraphy, attention to detail is a really big thing for me. And that's, I'd say, like what I excel in terms of creativity.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's just something that really stimulates your mind and gets you going.
Mm. Yeah, no, I love what you said about that attention to detail because I think sometimes maybe what happens is as artists or people who are creative, the people who see the final product might not realize the attention to detail, isn't it? Sometimes
Yeah,
because you're
it
really,
takes a lot of time,
yeah,
but people
exactly.
just see the end result. But
Yeah,
the leading
exactly.
up to that end result, there's a lot
Mm,
that you have to do.
yeah, exactly. No, no, for sure. So and how was, I mean, like you said, like it's almost like creativity is part of like your day to day almost. And
Yeah,
would you say that was the same for like yourself in your childhood? Like you had opportunities to kind of manifest, I guess, that creative side of you. How was that
I
like for you?
think ever since I was really young, I've always been interested in like arts and crafts. Like, going to the shops, buying stationery, buying coloring. Like, I've always been a very artistic child. So any chance I've got, I've always tried to like do something creative. Like like henna, for example. Since I was like 7, I've been like doodling designs in my books and then doing it on people. So
Mm,
yeah, I think I did get the opportunity in my childhood to always
yeah.
express my creativity.
Mm,
Um, and as I've gotten older, the more practice I've had, the better I've gone at it. But
yeah.
now I've ventured into different aspects and different avenues.
Mm,
So,
mhm,
for example, calligraphy is like more of
mhm.
a recent, like past 5 years kind of thing.
Okay.
During COVID is like something I really discovered.
Mm,
And then watercolor, painting, these are all like ever since I started college, I just ventured into
mm,
a kind of new aspect of art. I got given like a gift of bamboo sticks, and ever since then, I've just been really interested in calligraphy. And then, Nadia's workshop that we all attended,
mm,
that was calligraphy based, so I had an understanding. But
yeah.
then her workshop, of course, it
Mm,
really like emphasized on the skills and kind of helped me brush up on my own skills. So yeah,
mm,
I think ever since I was young, I've always had the opportunity
yeah.
to really put myself into an artistic kind of environment for myself.
Yeah, no, amazing. And like you mentioned, obviously you mentioned a bit in terms of henna and the fact that you've got this,
Yeah.
had interest in calligraphy. What do you think in particular, maybe if we just take those two examples, does that connect you in terms of your own identity and your own heritage, if that makes sense? Like, do
Yeah.
you think about that quite explicitly, or is it just there and it's just part and parcel of what you're doing?
I think for me, I'm so my love language is gift giving. So when it comes to, for example, calligraphy or like henna, there's always something I want to incorporate like when I'm giving or like making gifts.
Mm,
And I realized that over the years, I'm a very big like sucker for attention, for detail. Like
mm,
for me, the little things mean everything.
mm. Yeah.
Like, like when I'm like packaging, add like a little flower or like a little bow. Like that's just something someone might not even think about. But for me, it's like those little aspects. So when it comes to henna,
Mm,
I think it's a big thing in our culture. So I come from Bangladesh, even though people always get it wrong.
mm,
Um, and henna is such a big thing in our culture. And during Eid,
mm,
like weddings,
mm,
I'm always the one that's doing everyone's henna.
mm.
Um, and I think it really roots back because when you go back home, you like see everyone doing it, everyone has it on their hands.
Yeah.
So being able to like do it on people here and doing it on myself, it like
Mm,
makes me proud, like, oh,
yeah.
I can really do this.
Mm. Yeah. And it's,
And
oh, that's
you
so
kind of
carry
see
on. Yeah.
yourself
Yeah. Yeah.
as like part of your culture when you're doing these really nice activities as well as hobbies. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people enjoy um creative like arts or just any activities just in general, but then sometimes people can lose interest if it becomes like a source of income or like work. So I think it's quite hard to balance if you make it your like only source of like income or your that is your like occupation. But when you do it as a hobby, you have that like aspect of enjoyment. But
Mm,
some people can really like juggle the two really well, still
mm,
enjoying it as well as doing it as a business or whatever they do. Um, People have told me to start a business, and I've stopped because for me, I think at the moment I really enjoy it. So I
mm,
need to find a good balance
yeah.
and not overwhelm myself and make it like this
Mm,
is my work because
yeah.
it's always been a hobby and I want to continue it as a hobby and
Mm,
not get fed up of it. So
yeah.
yeah, I think it's important to know yourself and
Mm,
your hobbies really well.
mm,
Um, and some people put their hobbies out there as their work and they're really, really good at it. So
mm,
they really inspire me.
mm,
And I hope to get there one day where I can actually put my work out there but
mm,
still enjoy it.
yeah. Yeah, and it's such an interesting thing what you shared because it's almost in maybe conflict isn't the right word, but yeah, like you said, just trying to get that balance because, and it's so interesting because obviously in the creative sector that I work in, there's so much emphasis. Like if you notice somebody has a certain creative flair or talent, the immediate thing is, okay, how can we help you to
Yeah,
become a professional or so like you said, it's almost like commercializing an aspect of it. But I love what you're saying actually, but it's so important to first, I guess, for yourself to give yourself that space and time, yeah, in terms of that enjoyment. And then once
yeah,
I guess you're comfortable in that space, yes, of course you could venture out and start maybe a business or whatever. But yeah, I think
yeah,
that's
exactly
really,
that.
yeah, that's so interesting. I hadn't, I guess I hadn't really thought about that too deeply, but no, it's definitely something that you know yeah, people should think about. And how do you think the sense that obviously, because you mentioned the fact that you obviously came to the calligraphy workshop,
Yeah.
Nadia's calligraphy workshop in Luton. Um, do you feel that actually creativity can do that, where it can kind of foster almost like community connection, like, because sometimes, especially I guess in the current world we're living in, the fact that we've got social media, there's almost this sense of isolation sometimes. So, do you think, I mean, what did you think of that space, at the workshop in terms of when you attended, and how you think you might be able to replicate those in other spaces?
So I came down from London as I'm not from Luton.
Mm,
And this is my first time kind of attending any like social community event.
okay.
And so for me, it was firstly, it was my best friend's event. So I was, of course, going to come down regardless of what it was.
Yeah.
And it worked out.
Yeah.
And then when I was actually at the event, what I noticed was a lot of people that came, they probably don't even have an artistic background themselves. Like they're just interested in getting to know how to do calligraphy
mm,
and
mm,
seeing everyone come together and make these amazing masterpieces of calligraphy from scratch. It was honestly so mind-blowing
mm,
because it's a very like it's one of those techniques that you really need to grasp really well to be able to master it. And
mm,
it genuinely looks like everyone grasped it so well. And
mm,
that's I think because of two reasons. Firstly, having that confidence and listening to what Nadia was saying
mm,
and always asking her questions if they needed help. And
mm,
secondly, Nadia just being a really good teacher.
mm, mm,
She was able to really translate all the instructions so well and clearly that really helped us to, build that skill when we were actually doing the calligraphy. So
mm,
as a community, I feel like those kind of events are really important to actually just let people venture out into new skills because
mm,
you're not really going to get these type of events elsewhere.
mm,
And most of the people might never have done calligraphy if it wasn't for this event.
mm,
So I think these type of events really help like
mm,
people get into a new bubble, make friends, make new skills. And now this could be something that it was a starting point for a lot of people, which they might, you know, blossom into a really talented skill, even a business that they might do in the future because
mm.
of how skilled that they will become over the years.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it was really nice seeing the community come together
Mm,
and just enjoying calligraphy and
mm,
learning the Islamic history behind it as well.
yeah.
And it was just a very wholesome event. I really
Mm,
enjoyed it. And I think everyone who, you know, organized this event, it was really well um thought through because
mm,
having all the resources there, it wasn't too big, but it wasn't too small. It was just like a perfect size.
mm,
And Nadia was able to like give her time to each person,
mm,
which I think is really important when you're learning skills like this. A
mm,
teacher having that one-to-one session with you, as well as that collective session, is really important.
yeah.
And she gave us the head start and said, go for it. But if you need my help, call me. And she came round and she
Mm,
checked how everyone's getting along. And aside from that, she was just like engaging in conversation, just generally,
mm,
and making everyone feel comfortable.
yeah.
So it was just really nice. And I got to meet a lot of people and her sisters,
Mm,
and it just felt really welcoming. And
yeah.
I didn't feel like I'm, from London. I felt like I'm just from the same community as everyone.
Yeah.
Um,
It's really
so
nice.
it felt good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good, and it's good to hear that, and it's nice to hear that as well, and because it's almost like taking what you're saying that there's a level of because calligraphy is an art style, what you were saying about you're somebody who pays attention to detail because it requires that it's very intricate type of art form, isn't it? Because you're using that
Yeah.
pen and the ink and the paper and the way, the script is flowing, it requires that, doesn't it? Really deep concentration. And at the same time, that sense of community and having that intimacy, I think within the space really helped. So I think
Yeah.
you explained it really, really kind of sums it up. And I just had a really kind of interesting thing just to pull out that from what you were saying, because obviously we had the workshop itself, which is calligraphy, which is obviously Islamic calligraphy, so everyone is writing in Arabic. But then obviously you mentioned that your Bangladeshi heritage, like how I guess how do you foster those connections between
Mm.
um yeah, like your own heritage, but then obviously the Islamic perspective of, writing in Arabic. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
how does that feel for you as a person to be able to explore those avenues of I guess the different aspects of identity that we have?
Yeah. I think identity is so diverse
Mm,
and it's made up of so many different things and there are so many theories regarding identity as well. I actually study social identity at university right now.
right, okay,
So this is all like stuff that I've done in my modules.
right.
Um, Identity isn't just one thing, there's so many different things
Mm,
and depends how each person perceives themselves, I guess. but also it's how you're being perceived. For
Mm,
example, for myself, I see myself as Muslim, Bangladeshi, um, like a woman in society
mm,
who observes hijab, and studies, and there's so many things that make me who I am.
yeah. Mm, yeah.
So each thing can work alongside each aspect of your identity.
Mm,
There's not one thing that you need to focus on. Like, even though I am Bangladeshi, the Islamic side of me is still very strong, and everyone perceives me as a Muslim first because
mm,
they see my hijab.
mm,
And that holds really big significance for me. I want to make sure I'm, representing my religion in the best way I possibly can.
mm.
And you know what's actually funny is no one ever guesses that I'm actually Bangladeshi. So whenever anyone perceives me, to them, Bangladesh is not part of my identity. It's another country.
Um,
Um, so that's why I guess for me, I know that I'm Bangladeshi, and I, you know, embrace my culture in the way it is and my
mm,
ethnicity.
mm,
And that's how I perceive myself. But
yeah.
my identity for someone else, when they first perceive me, is so different.
Mm,
That's why, like, it's actually really interesting how identity works.
yeah.
Um, because every other person that has met me has always said,
Mm,
"You're lying. You're not Bangladeshi." And I'm like, "But why would I lie? I'm proud to be Bangladeshi."
yeah, exactly.
And I perceive myself as that. So when someone tells me, like, no,
Mm,
it's like, oh, like, you don't see me like that? Like, it's just so
mm,
confusing.
yeah.
Um, and
How?
that's why I think when it comes to the Bangladeshi aspect,
Mm,
I, I can't really do much to like prove that I'm Bangladeshi apart from speak it.
yeah.
Um, and even then, I'm actually not from Sylhet or Dhaka. I'm from Chittagong. So
Okay.
even when I speak it, everyone is like, "That's Chinese. That's not even that's not
So
even
funny.
Bangla, Anisa." And I'm like, no, like there's so many different districts
Funny.
and so
Yeah.
many different dialects. So I guess
Yeah.
I
So
really
good.
I really like that. That makes me stand out, I guess, in one way because
Yeah.
everyone that you meet is just from Sylhet or Dhaka. So when
Yeah.
I say I'm from Chittagong, they're like, "Oh, that's so interesting. Like,
Yeah.
I've never met anyone from there." And I'm always the first person that they meet from there. So I'm
Right.
like, okay, this is such a flex.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm the first Chittagongi person that you know.
That,
Um,
yeah.
so
No,
yeah, I think
it's
it's really interesting how you can embrace your identity in such different ways, but also be equally proud of each aspect. And there's nothing I'd change about my identity at all.
mm,
My granddad came from Bangladesh at such a young age, and he established himself here. And because of him, I'm able to really pursue an education, a career, and
mm,
make my family proud.
mm,
So I'd always hold that aspect of my identity really close to me,
mm,
and as well as my Islamic side.
yeah.
And I think it's important to make sure you know your roots, um, and just be really proud of it because there's only one you,
Mm,
and there's not going to be another version of you. So yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've just loved everything that you've just shared. It's so, so important. And, it is, as soon as you start talking about identity, that there's so much richness and depth to it. And the fact that you're studying at university is like a plus thing,
yeah,
right? It's like amazing. I'm so glad that I guess as the younger generations pursuing those things at university and kind of, in terms of education, I think is really, really interesting. And, yeah, and like you said, to be proud of your roots. And I think that was ultimately why there was this idea of calling this kind of project where we've got these workshops and podcasts like Creative Roots, because yes, there's one element of the creative aspect of ourselves, but actually how much deeply ingrained, we have
yeah,
as aspects of our, yeah, like you said, identity and how those can get like fused together or intertwined is really interesting to explore. So just like I guess my last question is kind of quite a big broad one, but
yeah,
because we've talked a little bit about this, I guess that connection to ourselves, connections to other people, and especially I guess in kind of the world we're living in, at the moment, do you think, or how might creativity kind of enable that sense of peace and unity like between people, because there's so much going on at the moment. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Oh, so I think creativity is it is a really big aspect in helping unite people, I'd say. For example, the workshop that we had was a way of bringing so many people from the community together and just reflecting on Islamic history as well as just developing art skills in calligraphy.
Mm,
And it's a kind of interesting way to really just unwind and take a break from what you're doing
mhm,
because we're so caught up in our everyday lives, working, studying.
mm,
There's just sometimes people don't have that just alone time or like just some time with other people just to reflect and just not think about their responsibilities
mm,
and
mhm.
just enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that itself is just bringing people together, like these events.
Mm,
And creativity is like a really big aspect of that because calligraphy is the reason we all kind of got together and, socialized, had a really nice time. And in a way, you just have this different kind of environment for 2 hours or 3 hours. And it's really important just for your brain as well. It's just
mm,
having that time to be in a peaceful environment and enjoy what you're doing.
mm,
Because with what's going on around the world as well, there's just so much going on, and a lot of people are really emotionally impacted. And sometimes it's nice to just be with people and speak about things. And alongside that, you're learning like a new skill, and that skill is also a form of ibadah as well. Writing Arabic, learning how to do the different strokes, different fonts.
mm,
It's just a really beautiful way to unite, get together,
mm,
wind down,
mm,
and take your mind off things.
mm,
So, yeah, I think creativity is really big in uniting people. And I think it's actually a really nice way to bring out skills that people just haven't ventured into themselves.
mm,
Because you could be a really creative person, but you've just never started. And this event could be the reason why you actually realized, I'm so good at this, let me just continue.
yeah.
For example, I saw your daughter's calligraphy, mashallah. It was just amazing. Like, and she's never done calligraphy before. So, people like that, like they can really continue and practice and just make it such a talented aspect of themselves, which
Yeah.
I think any other type of skill may not really bring out. Like creativity is just so broad and there's so many aspects of it. You just need to start
Mm,
and continue,
yeah.
and you will find yourself just enjoying it. And if it's not for you, there's always something else.
Yeah.
And that's what I really like about creativity. It's not just one thing.
Mm,
There's so many different things within it.
yeah.
Painting,
Mm,
reading, like writing. There's so many parts of creativity that each person will be good at.
yeah.
For example, I know that like Nadia that I was speaking about, she she's a fine artist, and there are certain mediums that when she starts, she's like, Anisa, I don't know, like I've never done this. I'm really scared. And I'm like, Nadia, just go for it. Like you're an artist and you will find your way eventually. And then she does it and she's like, oh my God, how does it look? And I'm like, it literally looks fabulous. Like it looks amazing. And it's just trusting yourself with the process and
Yeah.
having that confidence that even if I've not done it, I
Mm,
can build myself in a way to make sure that I'm actually doing it right.
mm,
And you learn from your mistakes.
mm,
So I think that's really important to know is like creativity is not going to be 100% at first. It's something
mm,
that you develop over time and you learn. But the most important part is making sure that you enjoy it. And
mm.
if you enjoy it, you're going to find so much peace within it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's like my biggest thing I say to people is if you're not enjoying what you're doing, whether that's work,
Mm,
studying, hobbies, then why are you doing it? You need to really find some self-fulfillment in it.
yeah, absolutely.
And when you have that, you'll feel like united in yourself as well as with people. And yeah, I think that's it really.
Yeah, I mean, you said that's it, but it's like amazing at everything, like because it's so, yeah, I mean, like you said, that sense of joy in what you're doing is so important. And I guess that's literally what creativity is there for. It is that
Yeah.
self-development, it is that sense of joy. And um of course the camaraderie that kind of comes with it. And yeah, and again what you're saying, that it's, you know, imperfections are just part of that, and it's part of that learning from your mistakes, I think is so important what you've said as well. So um but yeah, and then that last bit about almost being united inside yourself, and then, you
Yeah.
know, and it almost manifests, doesn't it, you know, into the kind of external context as well. So no, I think it's a beautiful way to kind of end. Thank you so much,
No, it's okay. I'm
Anisa, for your
so happy to be here today and be able to share my thoughts.
yeah, no, I could absolutely appreciate them. Thank you so much. So that was Anisa, who's a student at UCL, which is part of the Creative Roots, which is an Imrana Mahmood production, commissioned and presented by Revolution Arts, supported by Inspire FM and Arts Council England.